Alright, Season 2, Empty, by Eric Ruggles. The episode is 13, Death Greets Them. Alright, in our last episode, we left off with Sheriff Reeves taking some detectives to a woods to try and find these missing boys. The call was made by one of the missing boys' mothers, and they ended up finding them after searching for a while. And basically, they were devoured by Kierion. All right, there was blood everywhere, body parts everywhere, heads were missing, and Sheriff Reeves was a little nervous about what might happen to J.J. Satterfield because he was supposed to meet them. And he was a little nervous that this guy or this creature, whatever it was after them, and he needed to go. So he gives the phone number of the detectives to Deputy Jones and asks them to call them and let them know what's going on. And that's where we left off. So Chastain said, "You guys continue to search for clues at the cabin. And is Reeves nearby?" "No," answered Jones. "He left to go meet someone or some buddies. He was ranting on about the killer being a what and not a who." Turner replied with the question, "What do you mean, a what, and not a who?" "I don't know," said Jones. "Maybe assume non-human?" Chastain chimed in and said, "That can't be possible. The rationality, preciseness, and cleverness of leaving no evidence. The killer has to be a thinking human, a thinking being with high cognitive skills." "And this is just what Reeves insinuated and what I heard," said Jones. "Well, we are back on the road, heading to Rayden's home. Hopefully. That is where Reeves is heading," as Turner ended the call. Kierion was hidden in the woods, saw Turner and Chastain leave the diner heading toward Rayden's home. Kierion, with his super speed, was able to keep up with Chastain's rental car, using the woods to keep out of sight. For some reason, the car pulled over, and they stopped for a couple of minutes. This was the phone call that they received from Jones. Kierion, with his keen sense of hearing, was able to hear the conversation about a possible non-human suspect, and now he knew he had to kill them all. He followed them all the way to Rayden's house, and Chastain pulled into the driveway. Chastain and Turner got out of the car and headed to the front door. When they knocked on the door, they were greeted by Satterfield. "Come in, gentlemen," said Satterfield. And the detectives entered the home, and J.J. shut the door. Kierion found a good hiding spot near the house so he could hear the discussion inside and possibly figure out how he was going to attack and kill the detectives, Rayden and J.J. Once in the house, the detectives took a seat on the couch. Chastain, in a demanding voice, asked, "Where is Rayden?" J.J. responded, "He is here, but I need to speak to you first, so you have a better understanding of Rayden's story and not just verbally attack him." Turner said, "Well, fill us in then." As J.J. started his story, Kierion listened in on what was said. Kierion did not want any surprises and to fully know what he was up against. J.J. began by saying, "The world is not what you may think it is. It is definitely not what it seems." "What do you mean?" asked Turner. At this point in time, Reeves was probably still about 15 to 20 minutes out from Rayden's home. J.J. continued and said there are beings in this world that are different. "Different how?" asked Chastain. "Well, they contain supernatural powers," said J.J. "What are you talking about?" Chastain asked. "I am talking about witches, warlocks, vampires, werewolves, watchers, angels, demons, and so on," replied J.J. "Are you messing with us right now? Because we don't have time for this bullshit," Turner said in an agitated voice. J.J., angered and annoyed, said, "Shut up and listen. I have tracked and studied the supernatural for years. I came to Hickory because I was following a warlock named Kierion. As the name was mentioned, Kierion's ears perked up. JJ continued, saying, this Kierion was determined to gain all the powers he could by killing other witches and warlocks. If that happened, it would have been the end for everyone and the way of life we are used to now. He definitely would have controlled everything in this world and then start his quest in conquering other worlds. Other worlds? Said Turner. Shut up and listen, said JJ. Let's worry about this world and the now, JJ continued. Kierion took the position of a leader of the Hunters, a group formed to hunt and kill witches, and what better way for Kierion to find out about all the witches than become the leader of a group that hunts them. Kierion was very careful when he was around the people, being a warlock. During this time, when they would find a witch, Kierion would always insist on going alone to kill the witch or warlock. He would tell the members of the group he had a method, and the less people there, the better his method worked. The hunters believed Kierion, and since he led the group, they said nothing about it, and let Kierion do his thing. Kierion gained a lot of powers by killing witches and warlocks, crushing their stones, and taking their powers. A few years into his leadership position, Kierion and the hunters, which had pretty much dissolved, found out about the last of the witches residing in Hickory, North Carolina. And Kierion knew with the killing of the last remaining witch in Hickory, this would make him extremely powerful. A few months later, when Kierion got to Hickory, he adopted some orphans to do his dirty work in researching who the warlock might be. Reason being, by this time, the hunters had dissipated, and Kierion was left alone to find this warlock or witch. These orphans would be enrolled in Maple Valley High School because the kids always talk, and Kierion knew that would help in finding the last witch or warlock. Kierion was too late, though. Charles, Rayden's father, had left to protect his family. Charles figured he would leave and possibly lead the hunters away from his family. If possibly the hunters found out he was the remaining warlock. But once Charles found out Rayden, his son, received powers on his 18th birthday, he needed to return to finish the ritual of Rayden becoming a full warlock and protect the family there. Kierion, through the snooping of his orphan sidekicks, found out about Rayden and his father Charles. Kierion was listening intently outside of Rayden's house. Kierion thought to himself, once I learn where Kierion is, I will bust through the front door as a werewolf and slaughter them all. Reeves was now about 5 to 10 minutes out from Rayden's house, and he turned the sirens off so he could arrive unheard. So, at this point in the conversation, at the house, Rayden walks out of the kitchen and into the living room. Turner spoke. You must be Rayden. Rayden answered, I am. You care to explain further? Said Turner, with an urging voice. The majority of the lighthouse murders you are investigating were done by Kierion, Rayden explained. And who did the rest of the murders? Asked Chastain. Rayden said, we will get to that in a second. Interrupting once again, Chastain asked, okay, so where can we find this Kierion? And is he the one that has done the killings recently? Rayden said, Kierion is dead. I killed him because he was evil, and he killed my entire family. And your current killer is even more powerful. His name is Kierion. Heck, the name even means Dark One. And he is a werewolf and a vampire hybrid. So, you killed Kierion, and our current killer is a werewolf vampire, Turner said, with a need of confirmation. Rayden said yes, but Kieri's death needed to happen. Agitated, Rayden continued by saying, just listen for a second. Rayden wanted to continue explaining, but Kierion had heard enough, and heard what he needed to hear. That Kierion was dead, and no longer in his way. It is Rayden that stands in his way. Hey, if you're enjoying this episode right now, um, you basically can look up my other episodes to get caught up in the story. There is a season 1, and there's 9 episodes, and this is season 2. We're up to episode 13. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel and get updates on when, or notifications when, the new episodes come out. But it is on www.youtube.com/@Eric Ruggles, playlist empty podcast episodes, and you can become a subscriber today. I do appreciate all the subscribers I have. And now let's get back to the story. Basically, it was JJ, Rayden, and the 2 detectives, and Rayden was discussing it. You saw the picture of all of them in the room, and now Kierion had heard enough, and this is what happens. Kierion bust through the front door as a werewolf and was ready to kill. Rayden thought that Kierion might show up and try to kill him, so he was ready and prepared. Rayden, with little hesitation, shot an energy ball from his outstretched hands, and the energy ball quickly traveled across the room, hitting Kierion in the chest. Rayden knew Kierion was powerful, but when Kierion was only knocked back and staggered by the explosive energy ball, Rayden realized he was more powerful than he thought. While Kierion was knocked back and staggered, JJ picked up his backpack from the floor and pulled out a pointed pure silver stake. He quickly handed it to Rayden and said, "This stake is pure silver. You need to stab Kierion through the heart. The silver kills the werewolf, and the stake kills the vampire." Kierion, regaining composure, jumped on Turner and Chastain while they were trying to get away. Turner got the worst of it with a powerful full swing of Kierion's sharp claws, and Turner was decapitated. Chastain only got nicked across his back and got out of the way. However, it was deep enough that blood began to soak through his shirt. Rayden knew it took 5 minutes to regenerate his power of the energy ball, so he had to waste time. But there was no time to waste. Still 3.5 minutes left before he could shoot another energy ball. Kierion was up to attacking again. So Kierion took a shot at JJ, leaving deep claw cut marks on his chest. The blood began to soak his shirt as he was knocked down by the blow, hitting his head on the ground and knocking him out completely. All right, so there you have it, episode 13. We are in the middle of a battle right here. Sheriff Reeves is still on his way. He's pretty dang close. Right now, Chastain and Turner are pretty much out of the picture, but Chastain's going to come back through. Turner's dead. Of course, his head is gone. And Chastain will get back up, and we will see what happens to him. Rayden will confront Kierion again, and we will see what happens to him. So, basically, stay tuned for episode 14 that will be coming out later. And like I said, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notifications, and you'll know when it comes out. Appreciate all the listeners. I'm having fun doing this, and I'm hoping you love my story, or at least like it. Thank you.